Is your content killing your business? With the flood of AI generated content, people are craving the human element more than ever. That's according to my guest this week, GK Peter. GK is the founder of Vampire Digital, boutique copywriting and personal brand building agency that specializes in content for LinkedIn. We dive deep into her entrepreneurial journey, where she started as a freelancer and the ongoing demand for her copywriting services mushroomed her small freelance business into a full-blown agency. Find out her thoughts on how to use AI, the power of doubling down on your niche, and the right way to market your business on social media, all of which have helped her company thrive in the content marketing space. Here's my conversation with GK Peter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Beyond Fulfillment podcast. I'm your host, Dave Goulas. And first, I'd just like to say, if you find value and you like what you see on today's episode, please like and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It helps us grow the channel. This week, my guest is the founder of Vampire Digital, GK Peter. Welcome, GK.
Hi, wow, you said my name perfectly, which not many people get right, so I'm impressed already.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So Vampire Digital, founded in 2019. Can you tell us what that is?
Right, so I initially started out as a freelancer providing LinkedIn content writing services. So I called my sort of single vampire business Vampire Digital because it's where I originally come from. So I was born and raised in Transylvania, Romania, spent half of my childhood there. So it kind of made sense to build my whole brand around the vampire theme. And now we're a small boutique content marketing agency, predominantly focusing on LinkedIn content, as well as growing LinkedIn accounts for our clients. However, we are now branching out to website copy, email newsletters, and so on, because the demand seems to be there. So that's a great problem to have for us.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And so, did you have a background in social media or marketing when you started the agency?
So I've always been in creative writing. So I'm a trained journalist, an ex-journalist from Hungary originally. I used to work in the media production, so TV, radio, editorial, hosting, presenting live, that sort of thing. And then obviously I had to learn to do all that in another language once I moved to the UK. I worked almost 12 years in the corporate world at Airbus, the aircraft manufacturing company. They have a huge site in Bristol. And within that company, I worked my way up to my last position was a comms manager. So that I was their internal communications manager for the landing gear department. So I guess that's you could call that a similar scenario. So it was all about writing, communicating, getting the buy-in of the senior management into new processes and so on. So it seemed natural for me to retrain. Once I had my daughter, I couldn't quite go back to a full-time traveling all the time type of job. I didn't want to leave my young baby behind. So with a 1-year-old in tow, I retrained in digital marketing with the Institute of Data and Marketing. They are based in London. So I got my degree through them. And the rest is history, as they say.
Okay. So it's not so your 1-year-old daughter and just wanting to be with her was really the motivation for making that leap and being able to have control of your time, basically.
Exactly, yes. I wanted to have something that I can, like you said, work around her. It's really hard to with Airbus. I would have it's just working those full-time hours and the occasional travel to Toulouse, going to France, overnight trips with a 1-year-old is it's really difficult for me to it felt at the time to leave my child behind. It was the first child and you're in that mum bubble. You just want to be with your baby. So I wanted something that will fit with that the parent life, the sleepless nights and things like that. And I'm not saying I chose the easy route because it turns out being your own having your own business is not that much easier. In fact, in many ways, it's harder. But it does give me more flexibility now, especially now that I have an amazing team I work with, and they make sure that things happen even if I'm not available.
Sure, sure, absolutely. So when you made the leap and you started the company and transitioning from corporate, like what was that like in the beginning in terms of starting the agency, getting your first clients, and just
Mm.
transitioning to having that be your full-time income?
I think what I found most difficult is because I've never freelanced before and I've never run my own business. So that employee mindset, you know what I mean? It's moving away from that employee mindset and the transaction between myself and my clients to see it as I'm a service provider. I'm an expert at what I do, not the hired help. And it was really difficult for me to move away from that. So I would act in a certain way. I'd always try and please everyone. And even when I felt like, well, actually, I know better here, but my client is telling me otherwise. So I had to kind of learn that the hard way, that I have to, it's in the client's best interest as well as mine for me to speak up if I don't feel like a strategy we're using is not quite right, because I've done this before. I've done this with many clients now. This is my place to say it now. Whereas at the beginning, I was too afraid to speak up if a client would give me instructions to do something that didn't quite feel right. And then I started out as a freelancer at the beginning. I never set out to own an agency. It kind of mushroomed from one LinkedIn post to another. Suddenly, I started to get more interest, and then I had to hire my first help, a VA, and then another writer, and so on. And now we are a team of 8 and growing, which is lovely. But yeah, definitely the transition from going from being an employee to now running a business, being a first timer, it's still challenging. I'm not a natural leader. So there's a lot for me to learn there.
Okay. And do you find yourself too in terms of because like you said, you have a team now of 8 and
Mm.
you spent quite a bit of time in corporate, right? Do you find, has it been a challenge for you, like delegating and really giving instruction and learning to be a leader more so than just, doing tasks yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. The challenge of delegating is so real. I mean, I've only just recently created a position for an ops manager, an operations manager, and one of my amazing copywriters took that role on because he's been with me for probably a couple of years now with Vampire Digital, so he knows the business inside out. And it made me realize all the different tasks that I do that I don't normally take notice of, and all the things that have been taking up my time. And the argument's always been, well, I know what I'm doing. By the time I train somebody else up, it's going to really slow me down. But actually, it's freeing me up to go to events. I'm getting speaking gigs or podcast invitations, and it's allowing me time to do these things I actually really enjoy. And it helps us put the business in front of other people, new audiences. So part of being a business owner, I guess, is to go out there and find people and not just expect people to come to you. And it's also closing that trust gap. When you do your marketing online, it can work really well over time, but that trust gap that you've got to close and the trust you have to earn with your audience is you can speed that up by meeting with people in person, face to face, and being in the same room. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, I agree totally, totally. And things have changed a lot, like post-COVID and the
Mm.
the rise of Zoom being so normal. But I was always a big fan of traveling and meeting people in person and going to
Mm.
events because something about that, just that face-to-face human connection is just much better for business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a socially awkward person, so I find it really hard to go into a room full of people that I don't know. I get real social anxiety, but actually what I find is that by doing this regularly, it kind of, you become desensitized to a certain extent. You get used to it. Um, and it's just practice. It's like exercising a muscle, your social muscles, right? and I find it so valuable, even to the point where I'm meeting up with clients who I wouldn't normally meet up because they live so far. So a lot of our clients, I mean, maybe not our US clients, that's a bit more difficult to coordinate, but certainly with our US clients who might be living in London or further afield, I've been meeting with a few of them face to face, and it's actually been really helpful in terms of solidifying our relationship and really working together in a meaningful way.
Okay. And so with the agency, like you said, you kind of mushroomed into it because of demand. But there's so many agencies out there, particularly for LinkedIn, right? I've noticed it since I've really been using LinkedIn over the last year or so. Like, how do you go about differentiating yourself and really standing out with what you provide when there's so many different agencies out there that offer like copywriting services?
Yeah, I mean, one of our differentiators is what we always say: we don't just content alone. It doesn't work on LinkedIn. It never really worked content alone. So our differentiator is that we have a strategic approach and we do some serious work in the background. So content is almost the cherry on the cake, if you think about it. So we work with the client to define a LinkedIn marketing strategy. We do an extensive market research, a competitor analysis before we start producing any content for a new client onboarding. We set them up on Sales Navigator. We make sure that we find the right target audience, and it's not always foolproof. It's not always 100%. You have to tweak it as you go. Sometimes we realize that some people fall through the net that don't really fit that ideal client persona. But Sales Navigator is amazing in terms of really digging deep and finding the right audiences for each of our clients. Even a niche so for example, one of our most recent clients, they are whiskey wholesalers, and they have special whiskey storage facilities because it makes such a difference to rare types of whiskeys, how they're stored. And they also offer investment opportunities for those who are interested in investing money into whiskey, rare whiskies, So it's such a niche. And believe it or not, we are starting to, so after a month and a half, couple of months, so we are starting to get some leads for them. Like, people seem interested and they want to find out about what these guys are doing and they want to get on calls with them. And you wouldn't think this would work on LinkedIn, but Sales Navigator has some interesting filters and ways that you can find the right audiences for a very niche industry. So this is what I feel I'm quite proud of, that we differentiate ourselves in, that we actually, so we don't do cold outreach, but we've designed a warm nurture sequence that we test in different ways for our clients so that none of their target audiences feels like we are pitch slapping them. Okay, we're about building genuine connections, but it's a team effort. One client can't do it, and even me can't do it. I can't do it for them. So there's a team of 8. We each have our roles and play our roles at different stages of that customer journey so that we help our clients acquire new leads. Conversion is then on them. So we don't do sales, we don't do conversions, because really there's no way us knowing the offer or the product as well as the client does. But we get names on the list for them, and those people are genuinely interested. They're not going to be cold calling them. So it's not a secret. I want to say it's a secret. It's not a secret. It's about having a strategy and putting it together and kind of giving it time for it to work. So when those leads come through, when they look at our client's profile, their LinkedIn profile looks amazing, their banner looks on point, their bio reads like an amazing sales landing page, and the posts talk about the client's expertise or the product in a professional and fun way, not boring ChatGPT vanilla stuff that everyone seems to be putting out, but well-researched individual pieces of posts. And that doesn't need to be complicated. They don't need to be really long form, but they need to be talking to the target audience rather than just everybody.
In my world, personal brand is invaluable. I
year ago, Easy DC was brand new with just a couple of customers and no online presence. Then I found Hicks Marketing. They helped me amplify my personal brand, build a solid content strategy, publish my podcast, and 10x the number of customers we served, all in less than 1 year. Do you need a marketing partner who gets you and cares about your success? Reach out to Alicia at hicksmarketing.com for more info and tell her Dave Goulas sent you.
Okay. And I actually had some of those other things coming up to talk to you about as far as stuff that you call out on LinkedIn. You seem very, it's interesting you say you're socially awkward and whatnot, because you certainly don't have a problem confronting different things, such as the pitch slap. Right. I know I probably get at least a couple every single day where, and for those that may not know what we're talking about, that's when someone tries or makes a connection request, you accept the connection, and almost instantaneously you get a sales pitch, and sometimes 2 or 3 in a row if you don't respond. And it seems like it's almost an epidemic these days on LinkedIn. Can you
Right.
just talk about what a bad idea that is?
Yeah, I mean, just think about it from the receiver's perspective. How does that make you feel when you read those endless cold sales? They clearly haven't researched you. You're just a name and a number in the system, and they are playing the numbers game, the scattergun approach. And maybe some of them come through, but could it be so much better? Yes, it could. With a different approach, which will take a bit of thought and strategy. But yeah, it's just like you said, it seems to be an epidemic. And I dread logging into my LinkedIn DMs. I feel sorry for my clients having to deal with them, and they just get ignored. I can't remember, I can't think of anyone in my network through the last 6-7 years I've been using LinkedIn, more intensively the last 3 years. But I can't think of anyone who said, I received a great pitch slap and I bought something there and then. It's almost non-existent. It's so rare to find that perfect time where that person at the receiving end is ready for that solution that you're selling. And even then, why would they buy from you if they don't know you, if they don't trust you, right? So the whole kind of the marketing principles kind of are ignored with that approach. And I'm sure it works for some people, the cold calling. If people are really good, some people are really good at sales. I'm terrible at sales. So I like to do the opposite. Instead of cold messaging, I like to attract, because I think pitch slapping pushes people away. But trying to build genuine connections and being genuinely interested in the other person you're messaging opens them up, and they open up for a conversation. And then you can, at some point say, if it's not for you, it's fine. But if you want to have a call with me, then here's my calendar link. Let's have a chat, see if I can help your business in any way. But you should do your research and make sure that person genuinely needs your help, and you're not just trying to get into their wallets. It's not rocket science, as I say. But yeah, I will always call out the pitch slappers, and the social anxiety is easy to hide from behind my keyboard and my laptop, and with the sassy posts on LinkedIn, because I'm not in a room full of people. That comes across differently when I'm in a room full of people. I need to practice talking how I write, really, because that confidence is different when in writing is so much easier to recreate that.
Yeah, you certainly have a knack for your writing. And I follow your profile, and you've written some lot of very intriguing. You're really never a dull post that I see from you. A lot of the vampire stuff, right? The vampire themed content is very very interesting. Well, another thing too that you posted recently is it was an RIP on a tombstone, and you said it was the death of real conversations. And just talking about really maybe the overuse and the misuse of AI on LinkedIn. I mean, can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. I mean, one, I think it really dilutes our conversations. So I really love the depth of conversations we see in the comments of certain posts, especially when somebody posts something, could be controversial, or they're not when they're ruffling some feathers with something that they feel really strongly about. But then you look at in the comment section, and the depth of conversations are just mind-blowing and amazing. And I haven't found this being the same in any other social platform. I think the quality of conversations in the comments is just another level on LinkedIn. Having said that, with AI and some AI apps where people sign up and they leave generic comments on your behalf, that seems to be real, and people can spot them from a mile. I'm sure you've seen them before. And that is just so sad, because if there are no human to human interactions, if there's no actual human person reading your posts, then what's the point of us posting? And then what's the point of a bot commenting on my behalf? What do I get out of that? How am I building relationships there? Right? It really tarnishes your brand if you go down that route. Because the reason why people are using AI to leave comments is to be seen on as many posts as possible. But it actually backfires, because we can see it's an AI written comment. Normally it just sums up the post or repeats a line from the post. It's not very smart. Maybe it will get better later, but then would I trust a bot to leave a meaningful comment that could potentially put me in a bad light? If AI gets that good that it gives an opinion on my behalf rather than just summarizing the post, what's the next level of AI development there? Is it going to know everything, all the nuances about my personality and my way of thinking? Is it going to leave a comment that's true to what I would have left? How it's risky, right? Imagine if you're a CEO of a company, would you trust AI? I mean, some of my clients feel uneasy about us leaving comments on their behalf, which we offer as it's part of our services, that we do some light engagement for them. But it's so difficult to get the tone right. And if you leave a comment on a post, let's say AI leaves a comment on a political post on your behalf, you can't stop that. It's gone. It's gone out live. You can't police that. So why take the risk? And then from a LinkedIn's perspective, imagine if all posts are AI written and then all engagement is done by AI, takes the human out of the platform, right? It's no longer social media. And also LinkedIn's monetization model, part of that is that they rely on advertising revenue. So if those ads aren't seen by real human eyes, because bots aren't going to buy, they aren't going to click on an ad and buy a service. If less and less people buy from ads, that's going to seriously affect LinkedIn's bottom line. So they're not going to be happy about it. I think it's only a matter of time until LinkedIn clamps down on AI comments. AI written content, I don't know, because they seem to be encouraging it through their premium features. When you log in as a premium user, it offers you to, write a post or gives you content ideas. But even that, why would you use it? Is so generic. Maybe take it as a basic idea and then write it in your own words. If you're struggling for ideas, but AI written content is just a bit too bland at the moment. You should always edit it. Nothing wrong with starting off with AI content. We use it for idea generation, content kind of research, but then you just have to write it yourself, because it just sounds so unnatural.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, you can spot so many of these a mile away, and yeah, great for generating ideas or just coming up with things or just a lot of information very quickly. But again, like you said, the human element is so important because it is social media, right?
Yeah, and I think the long-term implications. So I've been reading something interesting about the I think it's the dead internet theory. If everything is replaced by AI, all our content production is done by AI, there's no reason for us to, who's going to be consuming that content, right? So if we're not going on there to engage with content, if we are signing up to AI apps to do our engagement, then that means I don't have to log on to LinkedIn to leave comments. And eventually, over time, we're just all going to stop consuming we're all going to stop going onto the internet. Then what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way if we carry on down this route. So I love AI in many ways, but I think certain elements should really just be kept as part of the human experience, and that includes engaging genuinely with people that you want to be building and maintaining relationships with.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned too, you're expanding your services for more than just LinkedIn, but now you're doing web copy and some other things. Like, what's your plan for Vampire Digital over the next, 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, it's really difficult to kind of see where this is going, because part of I want to say my word, but it's being realistic, is what is AI going to do to my business? We are seemingly growing and there seems to be demand, but it's almost like we are getting demand from more affluent clients who don't want to be in the cheap content mill production category, which is great. We want to we work with select clients who are multiple business owners, with multiple exits, entrepreneurs who have made a name for themselves, and they don't want their content to sound and look cheap. So I love that we are sort of becoming that boutique agency of choice. I don't want to grow too big. I want to keep it fairly smallish. But having said that, we want to serve more international clients. That seems to be the case in terms of our list of leads that are coming through from LinkedIn, from Sales Navigator. It seems to be that we are growing more international than just UK based. And like one of our latest leads who wants to have a chat with us is a Shark Tank winner from your neck of the woods, as we say in the UK. So he's I can't remember which year, I can't say the name, but he's one of the Shark Tank winners, which is really exciting to have somebody reach out of that category to wanting to be working with us is really exciting. So yeah, and those are the kind of I would say those are the type of clients we want to start working with more of. We have a couple of AI tech founders on our books, and we want to keep it small so that each of our clients has the very, very personalized service and experience, so they don't feel like they're just part of this big machine and all getting the same service. So individually, there's a lot of customization depending on what they're trying to achieve on LinkedIn. So yeah, I don't think I want to grow the team much bigger or the company much bigger. But and I love it. I love what it's becoming. But we need, in terms of services, we do need to look at a more of a full digital marketing agency rather than, I would say at the moment we are 90% all LinkedIn, which could mean that I need to bring on a couple of more experts, maybe we'll look at video production as well, because I have a lot of our clients asking for whether we know anyone, do we do video production? So that's possibly not, or video editing at least, maybe audio, maybe podcast auditing as well, or white labeling such services with other experts.
Okay.
Yeah, lots to consider. But I'm noticing a tendency where the more established business owners crave real content and well-researched content, not AI content, which is great news for us. And I think this is where a lot of agencies will fall. If you've gone full on with AI and you're producing, if you reduce your prices because you're producing your content with AI, you might initially get a lot of new clients because, hey, they can get the services cheaper now, not through the traditional kind of content agency. But then I've had a client who has come back to me after 6 months of doing that, right? They went with a cheap agency who was just using AI, and they said, oh, it's fine, we're gonna repurpose all these posts, and they've come back after 6 months because it's not giving them any results other than there are some posts up there regularly.
Sure.
So to me, that shows a trend that actually those who have the marketing budget, they appreciate human written content.
Sure, sure. And that's one thing that's been out there too
Mm,
in terms of
yeah.
all this, oh, call it oversaturation of AI is just going to make the human, is really just going to make people crave the human connection
Mm,
so much more and just almost kind of have it kind of
mm,
backfire on all the people that just do that because, like you said, right, it's so easy to spot, it's so cheap, it's so uh inhuman, I guess
yeah.
is another way to put it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, what AI does is just rehashes things that it finds on the internet. And when I know it's difficult to come up with original thought, but to word things in your own way, AI is really struggling to replicate that. We test it because we have to be on top of this. AI or anyone who uses AI is effectively our competitors, so we need to know about AI. So we are testing things in-house, but it can still not mimic tone, style, to a degree where you think, okay, I only need to tweak 25% of this. It's still not quite there. So, but we are learning, and AI is getting better and better. So we need to better the devil, right? We can't ignore it. And I think any agency or any company who is kind of who could be affected by AI, if you ignore it, head in the sand politics isn't going to serve your business well. So we have to treat it as a collaborator, I suppose, because we do use it for the research stages of our work with our clients.
Okay. And if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you and your agency Vampire Digital does, what's the best way they can do that?
I mean, the number one way is my LinkedIn profile and the Vampire Digital Company page on LinkedIn. Is where I try to be on LinkedIn as much as possible. However, obviously there are some things that I attend to, but my VA, my lovely VA Sarah, keeps an eye on things. So LinkedIn is the number one. Yes, it's where we hang out. All the bats, all the vampires tend to be hanging out on LinkedIn most of the time. Yeah, I do have a website that's people can find it through my LinkedIn profile, but LinkedIn is the first port of call, really.
Okay. All right. We'll link all that in the show notes
Mm.
for everyone. Okay. Well, GK, thanks so much for taking the time. Really enjoyed our conversation. And that's all the time we have for now. We will see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.